Imagine this. It's 1969. You're standing on the edge of the North Sea. Cold, gray, angry water slamming into steel rigs like it has a personal grudge. Norway, at this point, is not rich, not even close. It's a small country living off fishing, shipping, timber, and quiet discipline. Respectable, modest, slightly anxious about the future. And then, almost by accident, Norway drills into the Ekofisk oil field. Black gold explodes out of the seabed. And in that moment, Norway is handed the kind of lottery ticket that has destroyed entire nations. Here's the part most people get wrong. Oil doesn't make countries rich. Oil makes countries reckless. Venezuela had oil. Nigeria had oil. Russia had oil. And yet their people didn't get richer. Their institutions got weaker. Their politics got uglier. Their futures got smaller. So why didn't Norway follow the same script? Why didn't it turn into another resource-cursed cautionary tale? Why didn't it collapse under corruption, inflation, and political insanity? Instead, why did it quietly, almost boringly, become one of the most powerful financial players on Earth? Today, Norway owns about 1.5% of all publicly traded global stocks. One country, 5 million people, owning pieces of Apple, Microsoft, Nestle, Toyota, Samsung, and thousands more. Its sovereign wealth fund is worth over $1.6 trillion. That's more than the entire economy of Spain, more than Australia's GDP, more money than Norway could possibly spend in several lifetimes. And here's the twist. Norway didn't get rich by spending oil money. It got rich by not touching it. This is the story of radical restraint, of politicians who said no when every incentive screamed yes, of a country that treated oil not as a payday, but as a test of character. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand why Norway didn't just dodge the resource curse, it inverted it and turned oil into permanent national power. Let's start with the first decision that changed everything. The moment Norway refused to become drunk on its own luck. The first fatal mistake most oil countries make is simple. They treat oil revenue like income. Money comes in, so they spend it. New subsidies, bigger governments, flashy mega projects, cheap fuel, free everything. It feels generous. It feels fair. And it quietly sets the trap. Norway saw this danger immediately. When oil was discovered in 1969, the country had a choice. They could let foreign companies extract it freely and collect taxes later, like many countries did, or they could control the resource from day one. Norway chose control. The government moved fast, shockingly fast. They established state ownership of offshore oil. They created Statoil, now Equinor, as a national oil company. And they wrote a simple rule into policy. Oil belongs to the people, not politicians, not corporations. That alone put Norway on a different path. But here's where it gets uncomfortable. Oil money started flowing in the 1970s and 80s, billions of dollars, more money than Norway had ever seen. And they didn't spend it. No massive welfare explosion, no instant utopia, no sudden lifestyle upgrade. Instead, Norway did something almost insulting in its restraint. They saved it. In 1990, the government created what was then called the Government Petroleum Fund, later renamed the Government Pension Fund Global. And the purpose was brutally unsexy. Take oil revenues, convert them into financial assets, invest them abroad, and pretend the money doesn't exist. This was not popular. Politicians were pressured constantly. Why not use the money now? Why not fix everything immediately? Why not reward voters? Norway's answer was simple and deeply unfashionable. Because oil will run out, and voters will still exist. Think of oil like a glacier melting. You can drink all the water today, or you can freeze it into a reservoir that feeds your country forever. Norway chose the reservoir. And that decision leads us straight into the second nail that usually kills oil economies: inflation. Here's a dirty secret about oil money. If you dump it into your economy too fast, you destroy it. Economists call this Dutch disease, named after the Netherlands gas boom in the 1960s. Translated into human language, it means this: oil money floods in, the currency strengthens, exports become expensive, factories die, skills vanish, everything becomes dependent on oil. It's like giving one muscle steroids while the rest of the body atrophies. Norway refused to let that happen. Instead of pumping oil cash into the domestic economy, Norway invested almost all of it abroad. Stocks, bonds, real estate, thousands of companies across dozens of countries. That did two critical things. First, it prevented the Norwegian krone from exploding in value and killing exports like shipping, manufacturing, and fisheries. Second, it forced discipline. Because when your wealth sits overseas, you can't rate it easily. You can't casually inflate your way out of bad decisions. And then Norway went even further. They imposed a fiscal rule that would make most politicians physically uncomfortable. The government is only allowed to spend around 3% of the fund's value per year. Not the oil revenue, not the principal, just the expected long-term return. Think about how insane that is. You have $1 trillion fund, and you voluntarily limit yourself to the equivalent of the interest. It's like inheriting a fortune and refusing to touch the inheritance forever. This rule turned the fund into something sacred, untouchable, boring, stable. And boring in finance is lethal in the best way. But restraint alone doesn't protect you from corruption. For that, Norway needed something even rarer: transparency. Most oil states treat revenue like classified information. Numbers are hidden, deals are opaque, budgets are foggy, no one knows who gets what. That secrecy is oxygen for corruption. Norway did the opposite. Every citizen can see where the money is invested. Every holding is public. Every loss is disclosed. Every ethical debate is documented. If the fund owns shares in a company accused of child labor, weapons violations, or environmental destruction, it's debated publicly. Sometimes the fund divests, sometimes it doesn't, but the process is visible. This transparency does something powerful. It turns the fund into a shared national project instead of a political weapon. No president can secretly siphon it. No party can quietly hijack it. No oligarch can claim it as their personal chest. Compare this to Venezuela. Oil money there became a political ATM, used to buy loyalty, used to silence opposition, used to paper over economic reality. When prices collapsed, the illusion collapsed with it. Norway never built the illusion in the first place. Which brings us to the most misunderstood part of Norway's success. The fund is not designed to make Norwegians feel rich. It's designed to make them safe. Here's a number that should stop you cold. Norway's sovereign wealth fund is worth over 3 times the country's annual GDP. That means the fund is not a savings account. It's a geopolitical force. Norway owns roughly 1.5% of all global public equities. That makes it one of the largest shareholders in the world, quietly, passively, patiently. It doesn't bully companies. It doesn't speculate wildly. It doesn't chase hype. It behaves like a glacier, slow, massive, unstoppable over time. This gives Norway leverage without aggression. If global markets crash, Norway doesn't panic. If oil prices collapse, Norway shrugs. If demographics shift, Norway adapts. Why? Because the fund turns a finite resource into an infinite income stream. Oil comes out of the ground once, dividends compound forever. This is the core insight most countries miss. Wealth isn't what you extract, it's what you preserve. And here's the quiet genius. Norway never marketed this as genius. No chest-thumping speeches, no nationalist mythology, just spreadsheets, rules, and patience, which is why it worked. Now let's talk about the human side, because this isn't just about money. When oil countries collapse, it's not charts that suffer. It's people. Teachers paid in worthless currency, doctors emigrating, young people fleeing. Norway avoided that spiral. Its education system stayed funded. Its healthcare system stayed functional. Its labor market stayed diversified. Not perfect, but resilient. Norwegians don't live like oil sheiks. They live like disciplined middle-class professionals with a very large safety net behind them. That safety net matters. When COVID hit, Norway had room to respond. When markets crashed, Norway didn't slash services. When energy prices surged, Norway didn't implode. The fund absorbed the shock. This is what long-term thinking looks like in practice. And it exposes a brutal truth. Most countries fail not because they're unlucky, but because they refuse to delay gratification. Norway delayed it for decades. Which brings us to the moment where this story gets uncomfortable for everyone else. Because Norway's model is not secret. It's not complicated. It's just politically painful. Let's be honest. Any oil-rich country could do this. The math isn't magic. The rules aren't mystical. The institutions aren't impossible. What's impossible is asking politicians to say no to free money. Norway succeeded because it had three rare ingredients at the same time. Strong institutions before oil, high trust between citizens and government, and a cultural allergy to flashy wealth. That combination is hard to copy, but the lesson is universal. Short-term spending feels compassionate, long-term restraint feels cruel, until the bill comes due. Norway chose to pay discipline up front instead of suffering later. And now it sits in a position most countries can only dream of, a future already funded, a population insulated from shocks, a permanent claim on global productivity. Oil didn't make Norway rich, saying no did. And here's the final twist. Norway is still pumping oil, but it treats it like an inheritance it refuses to waste. That's the verdict. Norway didn't become a financial superpower by being smarter. It became one by being more patient than everyone else. If you had oil under your feet tomorrow, would your country do the same? Or would it reach for the money and hope for the best? If you enjoyed this breakdown, stick around, because in the next video, we're looking at the opposite case, how Venezuela turned the world's largest oil reserves into economic ruin. Same resource, same promise, completely different ending.